What up? What up? It's the Athletic Hockey Show. It is November 26th. I am Sean Gentili. I am joined by Frankie Corrado and Sean McIndoe. As always, fellas, it's a full slate tonight. We got 15 games on Thursday night, or on Wednesday night, rather. That was not the case last night. We had one. It was the Edmonton Oilers really showing us all what they're made of, fellas. Give up 8 goals to the Dallas Stars. Stu Skinner gets pulled after the first period. He allows 4 goals on 8 shots. Let's start with that. Let's start with the first period there. I'm as quick as anybody to blame Stu Skinner for everything that ails that team, but I think if you watch the tape, if you watch the 4 goals that he allowed, it alludes to problems that extend beyond him for that team, doesn't it?
That was way more than just Stuart Skinner. Way more. And do this, okay? If you go and watch all those goals back that go in for the Dallas Stars, do what's called the knee bend test. And ask yourself, the Edmonton Oilers that are surrounding the front of the net as these goals are going in, are their knees bent? And chances are the answer is likely no in a lot of those situations. Why do I care about that? I don't know. It's just one of those like optics things where like if you're playing and you're really working hard, like your knees are bent, you're kind of hunched over, you're into it and you're engaged. Watching some of those goals last night, it's like reach, stick check, standing still, not really having a chance to hop on a puck or make a play on anything. And it's past Stuart Skinner. And you're like, what the hell is going on around here? I'm watching Matthias Ekholm, get a D to D pass, look up, and you're like, well, why is he fumbling the puck? There's no one on him. Like, why isn't he just making the pass up the boards? And then I remember, oh, wait, I played that position. When you can't see your wingers and your centermen because they're in Calgary and the game's in Edmonton, it's an issue. And so you fumble the puck and you don't have anywhere to go with it. And that's just a couple instances of that game. It was a complete mess for Edmonton, but it's been a mess more than it hasn't been for them this season. And that is really concerning. And maybe I'll just throw this question out there to you guys. Like, let's get into the game, but I'll throw this one out there. Like, was like JD brought up a great point in the group chat last night about star players having a bad team around them? Like, can you name another sport? Like Shohei Ohtani has the Dodgers. Dodgers are a great team. Like Patrick Mahomes has had the Chiefs for a long time. It's not, it's not the Chiefs of old this year. They're in a battle, but man, to have the best player and then probably the second or third best player in the world and be rolling that team out there right now with that goaltending, that's crazy. I can't. It was a great point by JD. I can't think of any other examples where that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in the NHL. You go back to the first 5 years of Mario Lemieux would be a pretty good example, and we've seen some others, but it's not supposed to be like that these days. And so the question becomes, what do you do to fix it? Because this is what Stan Bowman was brought in for. Stan Bowman was brought in to be the guy who gets a contender over the finish line. It was what he did in Chicago when Dale Talon built that team. And then Stan Bowman came in and finished off the alley-oop, so to speak. And it's the pressure's all on him right now. And I know this is the NHL. I know there's a cap. I know it's hard to make trades and all of this stuff that we're constantly hearing. But, at what point does this become a panic situation? Because I know the Oilers have gotten off slow starts before, and it always turns out okay. We all sit around and we all go, oh, are the Oilers broken? And then eventually they win 12 in a row. And we all kind of laugh at ourselves and, that sort of thing. But we're getting to Thanksgiving. This is the point where, teams are supposed to be mostly locked in. And this team looks broken right now. And in the newsletter this week, I had Daniel Nugent-Bowman, our Oilers beat writer. And I basically did a little back and forth with him on the Oilers. And this went out Tuesday morning, so before last night's game. And I was a little bit surprised that the panic level wasn't higher coming from him. And because I asked him, like, what's it like in Edmonton right now? And the answer was not good, but not quite panic mode yet. Should be getting there pretty soon because, it's one thing to miss the playoffs when you got good players and all of that, but we know the clock is ticking. on the Connor McDavid situation. I know Oilers fans don't want to hear about that. They thought they got a 2-year reprieve on it, but if this team misses the playoffs, they miss the playoffs in year one of Connor McDavid's show me you can do this window. I have no idea what comes next.
Imagine the deal wasn't done.
Oh,
Just
no.
go ahead and imagine Connor McDavid hadn't done that deal yet. And he
Connor,
would be.
you think Connor McDavid maybe isn't imagining if the deal weren't done right now? Boy.
Think about that. Now, if the deal wasn't done, all we'd be saying is it's a huge distraction. And that's the reason why they're playing. That excuse is eliminated. He eliminated that excuse.
Absolutely. This kind of brings me back to where we started it with Skinner. Like, I think he in some ways has been some body armor for those guys. Like, it's easy to blame the goaltender, and in some cases it's certainly correct, but like, this is a bad 5-on-5 team in a way that we haven't seen from them in the recent past. They're 21st in expected goal percentage. They're 24th in expected goals against. That's sub-mediocre, right? And of course, whenever you incorporate goaltending and all that, it sinks down a little bit further. This isn't to absolve Stuart Skinner of any degree of blame, really. But man, I think the fact that he's been such a lightning rod over the last couple years, in some respects, especially early in seasons too. Like, I think a combination of blame the goaltender and also, okay, they've been bad in October and November before, has made it way too easy for people not to panic, push the panic button when it seems like they should.
Yeah.
Right. Because like, this is like what are they good at? That's a fair question about this team. You have Jack Roslovic is 4th on the team in points, and they signed him accidentally 15 minutes before camp, but 15 minutes before the puck dropped, right? Like, you look at their 5-on-5 numbers, and they're abysmal. And I think it's fair to ask, like, outside of having McDavid and having Leon Draisaitl, it's not just what is this team good at? It's like, what are they? They've appreciably declined since last year. They're not getting better, they're getting worse. And I think that should be terrifying for everybody that's involved.
And it should be. And to be clear, when you say Stuart Skinner, this is not all on Stuart Skinner. When you say it's not all the goaltending, when you say the goaltending is getting more blame than they deserve, it hasn't been as bad, etc. That shouldn't be reassuring to Oilers fans. That's bad news, because you look at, this time a year ago, Colorado was a good team with bad goaltending. What did they do? They went out and fixed the goaltending. You can do that. You can trade for one guy or two guys a lot easier than you can remake an entire system. So, for Oiler fans, like, yeah, it's usually you like to defend the goalie because he's one of the most important guys on the team. And if you can show that he hasn't been as bad as everyone thinks, that's good news. It's not good news here. It would be much better news if you could say, Stan Bowman, just go out and get a new goaltender and then everything else will be fine. It's not fine. And I guess that leads to a question that I have that I haven't really heard very much in terms of Chris Knobloch being on the hot seat potentially. I personally have not heard a ton of his name coming up, but isn't a lot of what we're describing, this is coaching, is it not?
Well, how do you not watch that first period last night and think like something needs to happen there too?
Yeah, but
sure.
Have they not burned through enough coaches already? So they're going to burn through Knobloch, let's say. Jay Woodcroft. Who was there? There was Dave Tippett. There was Todd McClellan. There was Ken Hitchcock. Did I just name 5 coaches?
5.
Am I missing someone? Like that? That's a lot of coaches in not that long of a period of time. And listen, players have come and gone. There's a, I guess no team is above a coaching change, and the last coaching change did them well. But my God, like, this guy, he's just getting started, really. I would say that's an easy way out. Like, that's making him the scapegoat, just like, there have been times where Skinner has been the scapegoat, not rightfully so. But a couple things that stick out to me, like, no team has let in more goals this year in the NHL than the Edmonton Oilers. And it's not by like 1 or 2 goals.
Mm-hmm.
It's by 9 goals. Like, they have let in 9 more goals this year than the Vancouver Canucks, who we are going to talk about shortly, who are awful. They're terrible. And Edmonton's let in more goals. And then if you look at goal differential, the only two teams with a worse goal differential than Edmonton is St. Louis and Nashville. And they're awful. And you're like, Edmonton's supposed to be a Stanley Cup contender, and that's how porous they are. Like, and that for me, that's not the goal. That's not just the goaltender.
And they can't score either. They're 21st in goals at 5-on-5. That's kind of what I was.
Well, what's their identity? Their identity.
What would it say you do here?
Their identity is they have two really good players, two of the best players in the world, and that's their identity. Now, think about how much this team has lost over the last couple seasons. Okay, if you go back to like last summer, losing a guy like Corey Perry, Connor Brown. I mean, those are the two big ones. They lose Jeff Skinner, Victor Arvidsson. I think you could throw in Arvidsson for one of those guys that is like an identity type player, right? Okay, so they lost a lot of their like backbone, if you want to call it that, to a certain degree. Like guys that are just doing things that are different, that add identity to your team. And then you go back a couple summers before that, and you lose your like youth kind of next wave of guys, whether it's McLeod or Fogle or Holloway or Broberg. And you're like, so in 2 years, you lost a lot of identity. And what did you replace that with? Well, a lot of guys that are just, I don't know, to use the old Brad Tree Living vanilla, like a lot of vanilla there. So it's weird to see the Oilers at where they're at, but they are way worse off than they have been in quite some time.
But that was always the thing with the Oilers. Once you realized that you had two generational players, yes, you need more than two guys, and they went out and got Zach Hyman, and Evan Bouchard's been fantastic a lot of the time. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had a 100-point season just a couple of years ago. So there's other pieces. But I mean, there was a part where you could say, yeah, we can have some vanilla. Just the rest of the roster just needs to be even. Let's tread water until Connor gets back on the ice, and we'll be okay. And that's also part of the story here is, you talk about Connor McDavid being on the ice. He's on the ice a lot. Leon Draisaitl is on the ice a lot. They're playing the heck out of these guys. And this is a team that has been to the finals twice in the last 2 years. We haven't seen the fatigue kick in with the Florida Panthers the way we thought it would. But I mean, this is not how you gear up for another long run, is by playing the wheels off of your best guys. But they have no choice because those are the only guys who are doing anything at all.
It's because Florida has more than 2.5 high-end forwards or whatever. It's easier for them to coast. So if you're like last year's great example, Florida was in neutral for a decent part of the season, but they knew exactly what they were doing, and they could, go into energy conservation mode in a more effective way. Now, this is Edmonton saying, we got to get the wheels back on the bus, and they only have two guys that are capable of doing it. And it's the end of November, and it's the same guys who, have played a gazillion games of hockey over the last 3 years, and you're asking even more of them. Like it really is crazy.
It reminds me of the meme. There's a lady, I think she works at like a fast food restaurant, and she's just sitting out back, like having a break with her hand on her head. And you can tell she's going through it. Like my buddy who listens to the pod sends me it all the time when he's got to watch the kids alone. He'll just send me the picture, and I know exactly what he's talking about. Absolutely. He's like, he's got the kids for the afternoon. It's like, is that not how Connor McDavid must feel?
100%. He's the woman who works at Popeyes during the Popeyes chicken sandwich craze when their lives were just in the toilet. Absolutely, that's him every night.
That's who he is. He's like, and like, how much more can he do for them? Like he's what, top 3 in points in the NHL. He took the 2-year deal, left a ton of money on the table for these guys. Like everything Connor McDavid has done has been pointed to Edmonton Oilers. I am giving you everything you possibly need in order to be successful. Can we make this happen? And time again, the answer has been no. We can't make this happen. And we've subtracted identity players from this group. We didn't add identity players to the group. We haven't addressed the goaltending. So I don't know, man. It's a really bizarre situation they're in.
So if this is just what they are this year. If they miss the playoffs, are we completely convinced that they've got Connor McDavid for 2 more swings at this?
No.
Or is there any possibility that Connor McDavid goes to Stan Bowman in the offseason and says, "Guy, I gave you 3 chances. The first chance was such a disaster. We have such a hole to dig out of. I no longer believe in this organization. I gave you guys a chance. You completely failed me. Trade me somewhere, and here's a list of where I'll go. You'll get a fortune. I'm under contract on the cheapest deal in the league for 2 more years. You will get an absolute fortune for me. But I'm done. I've given you guys everything I can possibly give you, and you've failed me over and over and over again." I know I'm being like, if I was an Oilers fan, I'd be rolling my eyes at that, going like, here, another East Coast guy is trying to, make Connor McDavid a Leaf or a Ranger or whatever else. But are we completely convinced? And if there's a 10% chance of that happening, there's your panic mode. I mean, why is Stan Bowman?
Like
how did we get 2 months into the season and nothing has happened yet?
He looked like he was going to explode after that game last night.
And I know he was
the angriest man on earth.
Daniel's
he hit it well enough.
Is that Connor McDavid is all loyalty. Like he is just not the sort of guy who would ever do that. In which case, okay, lucky for the Oilers, I guess. But I mean, this is just such a complete disaster getting set to unfold. And you've got 4 months left. Yeah. And they could still flip the switch and they end up with 100-something points. And people send me the link to this podcast and go, "Well, that aged well." And it's like, yeah, that could absolutely happen. But man, to risk it by, doing the whole status quo and not going to make a change for the sake of making a change. And, well, we don't think one trade's going to fix everything. Well, at some point, you got to start taking some steps forward, don't you? Like, what are you here for?
Like, you use the term "flip the switch." For that to happen, it would really have to flip, like big time, especially defensively. Like they would have to essentially turn their team from a bottom feeder defensive team to a juggernaut defensive team in short order. And it's just not easy to do that type of stuff, especially in season. Like, they don't have practice time. The practice time they do have is mostly just kind of getting out there and getting your touches, and the other thing that comes to mind is people would say, well, just do video. You got to do video. Okay. But when the games are happening as quickly as they are, you're not spending time. Like, who's Edmonton's next game against? I don't even know who their next game is against, but let's just say here, I'll pull it up just to have it. Mm-hmm. So their next game is against Seattle. Okay. And that's on Saturday morning. They wouldn't be doing like a 20-30 minute game review on the Dallas game because they got to get ready for the Seattle game. There's only so much you can do in video. There's only so much your brain can take in. So you almost at times have to like pick one or two things from the previous game, you digest that, figure out what needs to be done, and now you're on to Seattle. And so if this is happening, like it's hard without the practice time to turn things around this quickly. This is not an excuse for them. What I'm saying is it's hard for it to just flip a switch when you're not able to do the actions that are necessary in order for your process to become better. And that's an issue for Edmonton. That's an issue for other teams, not just Edmonton. But I also found it interesting in this game that, and maybe if Edmonton does find a way to turn it around and get to the playoffs and they play Dallas again, Glenn Gulletson was the assistant coach there for 7 years in Edmonton. If there was ever a coach that knew how to like untangle this thing and figure out how to beat the Oilers in the playoffs, it would be Gully. Like, he's been on the inside for the longest time now. So it's just unfortunate that Colorado's such a juggernaut. Like, good luck getting through them at this point. But I couldn't help think that watching that game last night, I'm like, Gully knows how to beat this group. He's seen it and he knows it inside out.
And people look at this too, and they can look at this and say, like, okay, it's 23-24 is always the example, right? They went 5-12-1 in their first 18 games. And was the start of the early season Oilers thing. Like, you say, okay, they're in way worse shape that year, right? Even in that stretch, that was a good 5-on-5 team. They were controlling 55% of the expected goals. Like that is when they were getting goalied by reverse goalied by Stuart Skinner. That's not the case anymore. And this goes back to what we said before. You can't blame Stuart Skinner for all of this. That was maybe true before, certainly has been true in the postseason, certainly has been true early in the last couple regular seasons. Ain't the case anymore. And that's what makes this complicated and really problematic for them.
They have won 10 games. Half of those have been in overtime, where you would expect 3-on-3 when you have two of the best players in the world that you're going to have an advantage in overtime. They have 5 regulation wins. That's fewer than Calgary, who we all think are going to finish last. That's fewer than the Maple Leafs, who are their own kind of tire fire right now. That's fewer than the Sabres. I mean, anytime you're using the word wins and fewer than the Sabres, that's probably a sign that something has gone very, very wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still think at the start of the season, the solution to all this was for McDavid to say, all right, top secret, here's a number I'll sign at some point in a couple months. I'll do it in March, do it in May. Like you want cap, you want the cap number. You want some degree of like understanding of how much money you have to work with long term. You want to know where I'm at. Fine. Here's what the number is going to be. I am not signing that until we're pretty sure that the train's back on the track here. Like that's what he should have done. And I know he didn't want to answer questions. I know it would have been a 3-ring circus every other week with this, but just to save himself the future agita or whatever, make himself the $10 million that he left on the table, he should have said like, okay, here's what the number is going to be next year. But to get my name on the contract, you got to go to something else.
I'll tell you what, man, he's been the ultimate team player, like loyalty, team player. He's eliminated all excuses with his actions, and they haven't really paid him back, not even close. And they've essentially put more on his shoulders than there ever has been. Think about that. It's all we've talked about, and now there's more for him to do, which is bonkers. It's bonkers what's going on there.
What a mess. That's enough. That's enough talking about mess number 1. We're going to come back after the break and talk about mess number 2. We got Vancouver talk on the way. Stay tuned. All right, we're back. Fellas, tough times in Western Canada. We have the Canucks. Stuff is hitting the fan. It seems like anytime you have a story by Thomas Drance, like the one that ran on the site on Tuesday, that starts out with something has to change around the Vancouver Canucks. You know that you really stepped in it. We had the report earlier from Elliot Friedman that all veterans are in play outside of Quinn Hughes and maybe Philip Hronik, for who can say why. They're ready to make changes, it seems like, and it's overdue to some extent, but also unwanted and somewhat unexpected. I don't think this is what this team was supposed to be doing on November the 26th.
Can I start on this one? This is crazy.
Sure,
what's
you
going
can.
on in Vancouver. Okay. So
Canucks alum Frankie Corrado.
They have been,
speaking as an alum.
If you're not familiar with the fan base and what the market has kind of pushed for and wanted for a long time, it is to take the time to build this franchise up. And that means, maybe moving on from some pieces and creating this youth movement that everyone's going to come up together and we're going to have a sustainably successful team for a long time. It's not going to be, hey, let's figure it out this summer, throw some stuff and see what sticks. It's not going to be, let's grab some other team's player that they don't want anymore, maybe a former first rounder who hasn't found his way, and see if he can work for us. The fans don't want that there, and they haven't wanted that for a long time. But there has been, resistance to that, call it. And whoever's been in there, managers, coaches, have had to make do with what the direction has been kind of dictated here. Now we're at the point where the greatest defenseman who's ever played for the franchise, one of the best players who's ever played for the franchise.
Frank Corrado?
Not quite. Yeah, not quite.
Damn, I thought I had it.
A guy by the name of Quinn Hughes who averages 27 minutes of ice time per game. Think about that. Averages 27. That means there's nights where he's going above 30 and like routinely. His contract's coming up essentially in 2 years, and they have to figure out what the hell they're going to do. And they've come out and said every veteran player is available except for Quinn Hughes. Well, the first problem I see is Pettersson, no move. Brock Besser, no move. Jake DeBrusk, no move. Evander Kane, 16 team, no trade. There's a guy, Drew O'Connor has a 12 team. Teddy Bluger has a 12 team. Hronek, no move. Pettersson, no move. Tyler Myers, no move. Kevin Lankinen, no move. Thatcher Demko's no move kicks in next year. Who are we talking about? You're talking about
Drew O'Connor 12 team. Jim, come on, Jim.
The backup goalie has a no move clause.
We're talking about Kiefer Sherwood, who's shooting the lights out this year. And what? Like this is crazy. And to say that to try and make it seem like we are not in a position of weakness. We will not move Quinn Hughes out of a position of weakness. I'm sorry, man. No one's buying that. You're in a position of weakness. Team is terrible. Star players walking out the door either for free or for something at some point. And now if you're going to make the move to move on from Quinn Hughes, you can entice a team to try and take this guy for 2 playoff runs. But holy smokes, man. Like this it's a weird cycle of let's just try and retool it. And then 2 years from now, we'll be right back where we started.
They can fix everything by trading Evander Kane and Teddy Bluger, right? Like that's going to get them the pieces back that they need.
It's going to get you the superstar second line center that you need.
It's going to stop you from having David Kampf as your 2C, which is where they're listed right now. Good God.
The one thing about this is, and Elliot pointed this out, people know where I'm at on most of the front offices in this league as far as making big, bold, aggressive moves. You give me virtually any team and they start saying, well, we're willing to listen on some of these guys and we're going to kick tires. And it's like, oh, great. Let me know in 4 months when you've managed to crack the code on trading a 3rd round pick for some second line winger. Yeah. And, this is Jim Rutherford. Jim's old school. So for good and for bad. Yeah. He's not here to mess around. He's not here to spend 3 months crunching the analytics and, going through his 14 associate GMs and making sure everyone's on board for this incredibly minor move. When he says I'm ready to do something, he's got a track record of doing stuff during the year, not at the deadline, but in December, January, he will make those moves. So it does feel like something could be imminent, but you're right, Sean, to get back to the question. Okay, who's going out? Who are you moving out? And how is that going to translate into somebody who's going to move the needle coming back the other way? Because, it's all well and good to say, well, we want a great young player. Yeah, great. So does every team. You're not, nobody's sitting there going, oh man, we drafted this guy, we developed him. He's just ready to burst onto the scene. But, we could have Evander Kane and his contract for another. Yeah, let's make that deal.
60 regular season games or something like that.
Yeah. So, or at least it's not happening, or it's going to be pretty tough to make it happen. It's going to take some work, and maybe they can find it. But if you're not moving Quinn Hughes, and I absolutely understand why, at the very least, they would swear up and down that they're not moving Quinn Hughes. Whether you're thinking about it in the back of your head,
they got it. They got to say that, don't they?
You got to protect it. Yeah. But I mean, if it's not him, and I mean, it's not going to be Elias Pettersson with that contract. Put aside the no move or no trade or whatever. That his cap hit is a no trade clause on its own. Who else is it going to be?
If you want to get better by trading assets to acquire better assets, you have to have stuff that people want. Like outside of the untouchable commodities there, like what do the Canucks have that's going to bring back any value? You're saying Connor, we're not trading Quinn Pettersson's deal is immovable at this point. So what? You're talking about Connor Garland. You're talking, I guess, in some capacity about Filip Hronek. But even then, you're so severely limited by A, leverage, and B, the no move clauses that Jim started handing out like candy in Vancouver. What's the path back to any kind of relevant improvement here? It's impossible to see.
Well, and the Connor Garland thing is interesting because they just signed him. Like, this is the last year of his current deal, and then the next one's going to kick in, and that's when the no move kicks in, and he goes to $6 million a year. But then when that name gets thrown out there, it's like, well, they like him for the culture that he brings, right? Like, young guys, good example, all that stuff. So what are we doing here? There's no retool. You can't retool this thing. It's
also just, why would you what are you gonna do if you trade Connor Garland from your win now team? Then you have to replace Connor Garland. He's a good player.
Right. Yes.
It's why they don't have tradable commodities. This is a spot that the Penguins were in, a few years ago when they were trying to under Hextall and then initially under Dubas. They're trying to rebuild and retool and add. Via trade, but we're not going to trade Crosby, and we're not going to trade Malkin, and we're probably not going to trade Brian Russ. It's like, then who are you going to trade? Because you don't have anything else that anybody else wants.
And the craziest thing, it's a very smart fan base, right? Like they are savvy. They understand analytics. If you watch a Canucks broadcast, they will throw up a board with like expected stuff and percentages because they realize that the fans understand those types of things. And so now they have wanted this rebuild to happen, and it's almost going to happen accidentally. Like it feels like it's going to happen accidentally because San Jose is only getting better. Okay, we'll see what happens with Edmonton. Chicago's getting better. Calgary's going to bottom out. We'll see. And then Seattle's on the way up. Anaheim's on the way up. LA's still a good team. So what does that mean for the Vancouver Canucks? It means you're headed towards the bottom of the standings, whether you like it or not. So you can either do it right and have something that you build and get to cultivate for a long time, or take another shortcut and be right back where you were. But it's the fans are almost apathetic, which is really sad. It's a really good fan base, but it feels like they're done with this. They're done with the same old song and dance now.
If you would have told me at any point in the last 20 years that the Canucks fan base was going to be apathetic about the team, I'd have called you a liar. That's crazy, and that's a bad sign. Where do we think this ends for them, by the way? Look, can we look into let's look in the crystal ball. It's May. How are we talking about the Vancouver Canucks? What does the roster look like, and what's the next move that's been charted out for them?
Accidentally a bottom 5 team in the NHL with a lot of veteran players that you would say are win now type guys.
Sean?
And the question looming over all of it is, will their owner even let them do what they need to do? And does any of the rest of this matter if that's the guy putting a stop to it?
Well, here's a question for you. If you were a team and you were like, I can have Quinn Hughes for 2 playoff runs. We'll see if he bolts to New Jersey after, but let's just say I'm going to get him for 2 playoff runs. Who is that team? Who is the team right now that you look at and say, how do they not do that? I have one off the top of my head. You guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong on it. But if I'm Carolina and I've taken big swings in the past and I'm like, I can add someone who's just a total difference maker, top 5, top 6 player in the game, I think Carolina's the one that would be like, how do you not do it?
100%.
It makes a ton of, especially the way the East is shaking out this year.
Detroit. Detroit has more than $10 million in cap space right now.
The thing about Detroit, though, is do you have to give up ASP, or do you have to give up Danielson, or do you have to for 2 playoff runs in Detroit? I'm a little skeptical still. Like I'm more bullish on Carolina's going to be there.
Here's what I'll say: Quinn Hughes doesn't make the Red Wings, a top 5 cup contender or anything. But if you're that front office, you're like, fine, maybe we can convince him to stay. ASP is good, but what's his ceiling? It's 65% of what Quinn Hughes is.
Oh,
You
I
take
get
them for
that.
2 playoff runs.
Yeah, you
I
just
hate
gotta
I hate prospects. That's what it comes down to.
you hate
That's my
Scott
problem.
Wheeler, and that's
Yeah.
fine, and I won't tell him. But yeah,
It's
like
it's the other
Detroit.
one that's the problem. You know what I'm talking about, Froman.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like you look around and you're like, okay, if I'm just going in the Eastern Conference, like everyone should have room for Quinn Hughes, but does Tampa have room
Mhm.
for Quinn Hughes?
Like if
Does
Tampa
Florida
would
have room for
Tampa
Quinn Hughes?
if Tampa can make room for Quinn Hughes, they would. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I think yeah, I guess you're right. A lot of teams would, but the one that just kind of jumps off the page for
Carolina
me is
jumps off the
Carolina.
page.
Yep.
Definitely. I wanted to before we let Frankie go, I wanted to touch on some comments made by Bill Guerin to our boy Pierre LeBrun in the story that ran today. Pierre's doing, of course, the periodic roster check-ins on the Olympic teams. This is apropos of Jason Robertson scoring for the 7th straight game. He leads Americans in points. Obviously, wasn't on the Four Nations roster. Bill Guerin was in charge of assembling that one, in charge of assembling the Olympic roster. This is what Guerin said to Pierre. He's doing all he can. And again, these are situations where I know guys want to make this team and guys want to be in this situation. There's a number of players that we could take and won't end up taking because we won't have the room. And when you look at it, there's so many guys that are close in the way that they're performing and their statistics and their body of work that it could come down to the fit. What do we need? I'm a big believer in body of work. I appreciate the first 2 months of the season, but I've said this before. This is not Pee-wee tryouts. This is not, just take who's playing well. If you did that, you wouldn't need a GM or coaches. We're actually trying to build a team. So I hear that, and I think probably bad news for Jason Robertson, probably bad news for Cole Caufield. These American players who we've seen, dial it up so far in the regular season. It sounds like they're going to have to do a lot to play their way onto the team. When you say like, yeah, it's important, like how they're playing right now is important, but it's actually not that important. That's sort of what Bill Guerin just said. So I see that. You read between the lines. I'm thinking there's not going to be a ton of roster changeover, even though some seems inevitable.
Yeah, it's bad news for everyone who thought that the first few months of the season actually mattered as far as
fools. You
teams.
fools.
We've heard some of this from the Canadian side too. It's just were these things already set in stone pretty much over the summer or even earlier, and it kind of sounds that way. I mean, there will be some spots that probably open up just due to injury, but it sure sounds like these guys have already got it figured out. And I think the heart of the quote of why this happens, where he says, hey, if we just took the best players, we wouldn't need GMs and coaches. And yeah, you've got both Canada and US, they got like 6 coaches. They got this whole staff, this, 8-headed monster of front offices, and everybody's working on it. They got to prove how smart they are. They've got to show that, no, I mean, anybody can just sit there and say, let's take the guys who have the best stats, but it takes real intelligence to understand why Brock Nelson needs to be there instead of Jason Robertson. And okay.
I'll speak on, I watch Cole Caufield a lot, doing Habs games, and I've seen him play games that are by his standard average. I've seen him play games that by his standard are not great, which are few and far between. And I've seen him play games where he's absolutely humming. And when like Cole Caufield is not a one-trick pony. Like maybe at the start of his career, he used to lean on the one-timer a lot, and he had his little office, and it was more just, he had his way of scoring. Caufield is not that anymore. He doesn't even use the one-timer anymore. Like he is a well-rounded player who is so efficient with what he does with the puck on his stick. Like I was looking into this earlier this year about the percentage of times where he crosses the blue line in the offensive zone and a chance occurs quickly. And it's huge. Like he's very efficient with what he does. He's responsible with it. He hardly ever turns it over. The only thing working against Cole Caufield is he's not 6'4", and he's a smaller player. And sometimes when that's the case, you're not going to get anyone to change their minds, no matter what you do. But it would be a shame if USA lost a game, an important one, by 1 goal that they couldn't find, and you left Caufield and you left Robertson And we'll see about Tage Thompson, but you left, a lot of firepower at home because you needed to have big guys who take up space.
Yeah, but has that ever happened before to Team USA where they lost a 1-goal game, or they had a bunch of goal scorers sitting at home, or like a Kyle Connor in the press box? They wouldn't.
I think Phil Kessel
really
had
happen.
a tweet. Phil Kessel had a tweet once,
We
summarizing
gotta check in on Phil and see.
Yeah.
We gotta get him to tweet through this.
What's he doing?
Yeah,
Billy G should call him. Sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's staying ready.
Yeah.
Frank, you are about to have the most American Thanksgiving of all, my man. You are going to be working in Las Vegas over the next couple days.
Wow.
How's that going to work?
Listen, man, I can't wait to see it. American Thanksgiving, going to be on the Strip. I'm going to check into the sports book. I'm going to see the levels of degeneracy that I never thought imaginable. And I personally can't wait for dinner Thursday night to see, I think of Thanksgiving, getting together with the family and, there's nieces and nephews and kids and all this stuff. I will be
the people closest to you for sure.
I will be at a restaurant on the Strip. Just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but I will be looking at some interesting stuff.
I think you do.
Yeah.
I think you do know how to describe it. And that's all the time we have with Frank Corrado. Take it easy, buddy. And
okay, boys.
Eat something fun tomorrow in honor of me.
Pictures to follow. I'll let you know who's out there, out and about.
Highly censored. Take it easy. Me and DGB will be back in a second. All right, we're back. There goes Frankie. I can't wait for the text that I get from him tomorrow at the Thanksgiving table. Going to be 10 out of 10. Sean, I learned something this week.
What have we learned, Sean?
I learned, this is largely courtesy of Shayna Goldman, but also from some other stats I saw flying around. I learned that the American Thanksgiving cutoff that everyone likes to bring up about teams in playoff positions is a little bit less cut and dry than we've come to believe. Since the lockout, yes, 77% of teams in playoff position at Thanksgiving go on to qualify in the spring. That's true. Last season, 12 of 16 held on to their spots, and at least 3 have moved up in each season since 2013-14, which is when the wild card started. Cup finalists have been in each of the last 3 seasons have been under the cutoff. So this is still legit. It's a good measuring stick, but I feel like we need to amend how we think about this. When you're talking about 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams every season, cup finalists in each of the last 3, like there's more wiggle room, I think, than we give people credit for here.
Yeah, people make it sound like it's 99% that you're locked in. Season's over.
Fold up the tent and go home if you're in 10th place or whatever.
And that's not it. So 4 teams. Let's pick 4 teams that are outside the playoffs right now that are going to make it.
4
I feel like there's a couple of pretty easy ones, or at least ones that we're going to agree on. But
we should mention you folks should go pick your own if you want. BetMGM, you can get some futures bets on something like that if you feel strongly about a team that's under the cutoff, making a move upwards here. I think these are ours.
And if we say a team might get knocked out of a spot and you're mad, don't yell at us.
We don't know what we're talking about.
Well, that too, but go get the free money if you're so convinced.
If you're so smart,
playoffs. Yeah, go ahead.
SMRAT smart.
Yep.
Who's yours? You start.
I'm going to say the Oilers.
First pick. Yeah,
the Oilers aren't going to miss the playoffs. As much as we talked about all the problems in segment 1, there's no way. There's no chance that the Oilers. I mean, there's 0 point. There's like a 10% chance, 30% at the highest that the Oilers miss the playoffs. Other than that, they're a lock.
They're chasing the Kraken in the Pacific Division. Like it'll be fine. That team's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Ducks are good. I do. I think the Kraken are doing it with smoke and mirrors in a way that Anaheim and some of the other surprise
They're a good
teams
story.
are.
They're a fun story, but yeah, they're getting
I don't,
chased down.
I actually don't think they're very fun, but whatever.
Fair enough. I tried. Sorry, Seattle.
Is it unfair to pick Florida here? Florida's got 25 points. They're out there. They're a point behind Boston for the last wild card, and a point behind Ottawa in the Atlantic Division. This seems like a hack that we have Edmonton and Florida both below the cutoff. Two teams that have found some degree of playoff success over the last couple of years. There's no way Florida's not in it by the time it's all said and done. They're going to get Matthew Tkachuk back momentarily, let's say, or something close to it. And we said before, man, those guys, they understand energy conservation mode. They've done it before.
Yep.
So no Barkov, no problem. I feel like they're going to find a way to get it done.
And if they get in as a wild card, doesn't matter. They could be the 8th seed.
Who cares?
Nobody's going to want any part of that. All right, I'll throw another. To me, I wouldn't say obvious pick, but it's an easy one because they just dropped out, and that's the Winnipeg Jets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sitting 3 points back, but in terms of percentage, now I am concerned about the Jets as cup contenders
for sure,
mainly because of what's happening in that division. Colorado looks unbeatable. Dallas took a little while to find it, but they've got it now. Minnesota's kind of come out of nowhere and look really strong.
I thought they were DOA. I watched them a couple times earlier. They look cooked. They look like a bad team from soup to nuts.
Flipped it around. So I'm worried about the Jets as far as being, going from last year's President's Trophy to maybe the 4th best team in their own division, but that still gets you in the playoffs. And they're going to be missing Connor Hellebuck for a few more weeks, but then theoretically he's back, he's ready to go. All of those things. There doesn't seem to be a ton of concern beyond the initial absence. So I think
a strange lack of concern. I would say it's been
maybe
people seem completely okay with it. Guerin said that in his interview with Pierre too. Says like he has every bit of confidence that
I think he should take the Olympics off and just rest up and focus on his NHL team. And I say that as a Canadian.
You just got to wonder if the season he's having so far doesn't find a way to play his way off the roster. Maybe Guerin has the
it's that 2-month sample size. That'll be the one that Guerin decides.
Never mind. You know what?
Hellebuck's out.
He's hurt.
Sorry.
Can't rely on him.
We need a 4th team though.
We do. This is where it gets kind of difficult. I would say. Oh God, do I like the Bruins to fall out of the wild card spot. And I'll say that we get another one from the Atlantic. I bought stock on the Montreal Canadiens at some point in the last year. They've got 25 points. Again, they are also 1 point under the cutoff. I'll say that they figure it out. I'll say that Sam Montembeault, or which is certainly one of their biggest problems. I'll say that he gets it together to a serious enough of a degree to put them back in the conversation.
Yeah, I like that pick. And again, we've just picked a team that is even. I think they may even be in right now, based on percentage, which is that's
the other. That's true. Yeah, they have a 595 point percentage, which is better than Washington and in the Bruins, who are in the wild card spot right now. You
look at them over the last couple of weeks, and they have not looked like a playoff team. I think they get it back on track, and I think the Eastern Conference ends up being an easier place to make the playoffs than maybe we thought. Interesting. Neither one of us picked the Leafs. Did you even think about the Leafs, or are you're already done?
They're dead. Shout out to the Rangers, though. I think the Rangers have it. I don't think the Metro's
happy good. 1 year anniversary to the memo. Chris Drury taking a 12-6 team and telling everybody that
these guys suck. Actually, and we'll trade everybody. That was today. I don't know why I thought that was closer to Christmas. I remember talking to you guys about it, and I was in holiday mode by then. Makes sense.
Well.
Sean, how are you celebrating American Thanksgiving?
I am staying home, working, and then watching football on a Thursday afternoon, which I gotta say is a lot of fun. I do enjoy that. Might have to even go find a place to sit down, maybe have a pop and watch watch the games.
Gotta find some place to gamble with Frank. Chiefs Cowboys on Thursday. It's a good one.
Be pretty good. I will not be having as much fun as Frank, but I'll be.
Something tells me.
Yeah.
Oh, brother. Well, enjoy it. Celebrate in spirit. I'm gonna be full of turkey and full of wine and whatever else very early in the day on Thursday. So good luck to everybody. Good luck to my family too. Most of all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Frankie. We do want to remind you folks, we're on YouTube. We've said it before, but you can subscribe there. The audience is just jumping through the roof on that one. People are having fun in the comments and what have you. I know I'm personally having a great time with it. Join the Discord too. There's always good discussions to be had there. To my fellow Americans, enjoy your Thanksgiving. And to everybody else, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed and catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the meantime, you can join our Discord community. We'll see you there.